Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A for Business podcast. It's me, Courtney Shaw, of course, and in this episode, I'm going to break down exactly what it means if you are a client warrior. So stay tuned. Okay, so first things first, if you have not yet listened to episode 4 where I break down the different stages of business, you're going to want to do that first. That's the overview episode that's going to make this episode make a lot more sense in context. And then, of course, secondly, if you haven't taken the quiz at CourtneyShaw.com yet, just go to my main website. The link is in the show notes. And click on the navigation bar item that says quiz and take the quiz for yourself so you know which of the 3 results you're going to get. So there's going to be the Scrappy Freelancer, which was episode 5. Today we're going to talk about the Client Warrior. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about the Booked Out Boss. So make sure to take the quiz so you can read those results and make sure that your results actually make sense for you. And if they're not quite right, make sure to listen to the episodes that you think might be where you're at, because then that's going to go way more in depth. That's why I'm creating these episodes for you. So quick little side story. Just as I was going to record this episode, my iMac that I record on decided to just crap out on me. And you know that thing where you get like the spinning wheel of death? And so I quit the application and then I tried to open it back up, and on the dock, the application icon was just bouncing up and down and up and down. So then I had to restart my computer, and it has been a whole saga. You know, sometimes you don't realize the little administrative things that go into the work that people do online. And I thought I'd share that little backstory. Here's why I'm sharing this. Not only because I use that as an excuse to go eat a Reese's peanut butter cup, but I have just ordered a new iMac. I'm getting the 27-inch one. I'm so excited. I decided it's going to be my early birthday present to myself. So hopefully in the future, I won't lose 10, 15, 20 minutes trying to restart the computer. And of course, I just had a notification go off because I forgot to put my computer in Do Not Disturb mode. So that's where we're at today, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're a client warrior, you might be resonating with that. How's that for a segue? Because client warriors are brilliant, hard workers who are also, if not already there, headed towards burnout. You might be feeling a little bit, spaced out. You might feel like, not spaced out in the sense of like you're not paying attention, but you might just feel like your brain is like hopping around from like scattered. That's the word I'm looking for, scattered. And so let's talk about this, because I really want to break down client warriors are probably the most common type in my audience, just from my unofficial, unscientific observation. And here's how you know you're a client warrior. Client warriors are marked by a couple of qualities. The first quality is that obviously you're a service provider, you're working with clients, and in doing those services, plural services is key there, you are either customizing your services for each client. So maybe you have like set services, like a set service menu or something like that. But then when clients come to you, you're actually creating a proposal. And or you have multiple different services, meaning like 2 or more services. So if you're like, well, yeah, duh, that's what service providers do, then you need to keep listening, because you are definitely a client warrior. And we're going to talk about why actually you don't want to be customizing your services or having multiple services at this stage of business. It's actually going to keep you stuck. And the second quality of a client warrior is that you are likely, it is very, very likely that you are either making some niching mistakes or you're just not niching. You're resisting niching down. So this is how I can see from a mile away when someone pops in my DMs, or I start, watching someone commenting on social media or things like that. I can see a client warrior from a mile away. I can see all the types from a mile away, but the client warrior is really the easiest for me to pick out. So before we talk about like all the things that you need to change and do to evolve and grow and, all of that, I really want to congratulate you on the big wins at this stage of business. Because remember from episode 4, where we talked about the fact that every single stage is important. And there's a reason why most of us start as scrappy freelancers and then we move to be client warriors and then we become booked out bosses. And so if you're at this stage, I really want you to give yourself a pat on the back. I want to give you some words of affirmation right up in here if that's that's your love language, you're going to love this. So, number one, you have gotten paid for the work that you do in your business. So you're no longer doing a bunch of random stuff or reacting. Like freelancers, scrappy freelancers are much more reactive, right? They take on a lot of different projects, often in different sort of niches and industries. As a client warrior, you've actually started to make money somewhat regularly with your services. So somewhat regularly, I'm going to say if you're making under $2,000 a month from your services, probably between $500 and $2,000 a month. Again, I throw these numbers out there to help, to give some context and tangibility. But remember, like none of this is set in stone and we all are different. We live in different countries and cultures and we have different economic needs and values and cost of living is different. And so, it's really hard to give an exact number, but tends to be under $2,000 a month in my experience. So you are making that money though. That money is proof that you are able to create services that people want to pay for. So for me at this stage was my website copywriting services. And every time I would customize a proposal for a client and they would say yes, I was like on cloud 9. Like I was so amazed that people wanted to pay me for my work, especially because I was so convinced at that stage that I was very expensive. Looking back, I was very cheap, but I thought I was so expensive because I was comparing myself to like minimum wage and like things that I was getting paid for freelance and all that kind of stuff. So you're making the money. That's awesome. The second big win is you have some real clarity at this point about the type of clients you love to work with and the type of clients you don't love to work with. We're going to put those latter in what I call the Peta Pile, the pain in the ass pile. And sometimes there's clients you don't love to work with. They're not pitas, but we'll just put them in the pile because it's more fun that way. So you know what kind of clients you love to work with. You've gotten more clarity on like, oh, I really like people who are at this level, or I really like people who have this specific problem, or they really want this other result, or whatever that is. So I've worked with clients, for example, an interior designer, and she realized after offering her services for a while, she really didn't like working with clients who had smaller budgets. And she has a very like luxe style and she really needed to attract a higher paying client. And so that's something that she got really clear on. So you know what clients you love to work with and don't love to work with. The third thing I really want to commend you on at this stage, because this stage, can I just tell you, this is the hardest hard worker stage that there is. The danger of that, if you stay in this stage too long, you start to really reinforce that societal story and messaging that we receive around hard work to earn money, and that in order to make more money, we have to work harder. I want you to know that at this stage, you're working pretty freaking hard and you're making as little money as you're going to make for as hard as you're working. That I want you to know straight up. It is only less work and more money from here. Now, you're still going to have to work hard. And that's why I want to commend you is you've built that muscle, right? You didn't give up in the beginning. You didn't give up because it got hard. You're really proving that you have some resilience. So I want to commend you on that. That's a really important quality. Even if you don't see it in yourself, I see it in you and I want you to know that. The thing is, with this stage comes some serious struggles. And I was in this stage for so long. Let me tell you, this is the stage I was in the longest, that I should have gotten out of faster. And so I very intimately, I have a very visceral reaction to even talking about this because I just thought business was supposed to be just an immense struggle when I was at this stage. And so I want to acknowledge and validate a few of the core struggles you may be facing at this stage. So number one is you either know that you're undercharging, or maybe you don't think you're undercharging, but you're basically like, I need to make more money. You are undercharging, let me tell you that. But you know that you need to make more money. You're like, how could I possibly make a full-time income from my business because you're undercharging. And so you're really struggling financially in a lot of ways. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. I was there for a very long time, probably 3 years in my business. I'd have to really think back on that, but I was in the stage for a very long time. And I really started to internalize that struggle. And, we can talk about this story another time, but I had a very, very ingrained poverty mindset. It was very much, poverty maybe isn't the right word. It was very much this broke 20-something traveling the world, which again, that's very privileged, not poverty. But I was really in the mindset that I didn't deserve to make good money and that my life was good enough and I had the freedom, and what was I going to complain about? That was a mindset thing for me that I really struggled with for many years. So I want to acknowledge that financially you might be struggling, and especially now, all of you are in different financial situations, right? Some of you are supporting yourselves. Some of you have families that you're helping to support. Some of you, your business is quote unquote extra. So, and again, this is all mindset stuff too, right? Like maybe you have a partner or a spouse who is bringing in the main income and your business is extra on top of that. So that can create some mindset things around making more money. Like, how dare I out earn my spouse, or my business isn't serious, it's a hobby, or things like that. So there's a lot to uncover here. And I'm going to go on some little rants I can tell as we go through this episode, because I just think this is such a juicy, juicy stage. So the next struggle is that you are over customizing your services and offering too many options. So over customizing means that when a potential client comes to you, you are customizing what you're offering that client based on what they say they need. I know, sounds really normal and like something you should totally do, right? Wrong. This is going to cause you so much pain forever if you continue to do this. This is the hill I will die on. This is my entire method around Yay for Clients. Everything I do, everything I've stood for years is based on this whole concept to stop writing custom proposals. Now, if you want to be a boutique agency kind of high end, right? High price boutique consultancy or agency or something like that, go ahead and customize those proposals all day. I have met few and far between people in my community who that's what their goal is. So if it is, I'm probably not the right person to help you. My friend Maggie Patterson at Small Business Boss is great with that kind of service provider. I would go check her out. She's awesome. I love her. For me, it's all about the fact that we don't want to do that. And what you end up doing is you're not over customizing and charging like high-end boutique rates. You're over customizing and undercharging, right? Again, I did this, so I speak from so much compassion and understanding, but you got to cut it out. Like you have to. And we're going to talk about how to do that. Okay. So, not only are you over customizing, but you're also maybe offering too many different packages. So I did both. I made both of these mistakes for a while. I had 5 different copywriting packages on my website. I had 5, then I had 3. Both are too many, by the way. And every time I got a potential client, I would write them a custom proposal. So I never was actually selling one of the packages. The packages were almost just like, here's an example of what our work might look like. And so it was like, what's the point of even having the packages? So I want to get you out of that like endless cycle of doom. We talked about the feast and famine cycle a lot in episode 5, where we talked about scrappy freelancers. That feast and famine cycle is absolutely applicable to you as a client warrior. Absolutely. It might look a little bit different for you, but you're probably still on that cycle. And so I would definitely go and listen to at least that portion of episode number 5. The third really serious struggle we need to talk about for client warriors, we need to address this, is burnout. You cannot sustain what you're doing right now. You cannot sustain offering custom proposals to every single client and then being the one person who actually executes on those proposals, meaning you actually do all the work for the client. You're also managing the client. You're also running the business. Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's not a matter of like, you need to get better at productivity. It's not going to work. You cannot continue this. But this is not a challenge for you to try. That's just, okay, go prove me right. Like, I don't want you to suffer, and that's why I'm telling you this. I really hope you'll take this to heart, especially if you and I have built some like know, like, and trust factor at this point. If this is your first time listening to me, which Shouldn't be, because you should have listened to episode 4. But if it is, maybe you're like, oh, I don't know what this girl's talking about. But you know, if you're out there and you've been following me for a while and you've been listening to the stuff I'm saying, I really hope that you can trust me at this point on this. We need to stop undercharging and over customizing and offering multiple services. It is not the most efficient way to run your business. It is not freedom, and it is not creativity. Okay. It's really just fear running the show, because you're still kind of carrying on some of that freelancer mentality of you've niched, or you've narrowed, I'm not even going to say niched, you've narrowed into your industry, right? So for me, I was like, okay, I'm a website copywriter, but within that, I was willing to like do any kind of package for a client. And I was very reactive to what was coming my way. So we're still not at the client warrior stage. We're still not being proactive. Even if you've created packages, if you're not selling those packages and only those packages, and by packages, I mean one package, singular, maybe a mini service, but mini service literally only exists to get people into the main service. It's not like offering small, medium, large for Goldilocks reasons. We're not doing that. If you're still doing that and you are not booking only clients in your packages without customizing them and not offering multiple packages, then you are still being reactive to what's out there. So you still are on that feast and famine cycle. I don't say that to make you feel bad. I say that to be a little bit of a wake up call, because the sooner we stop doing that, this isn't like, you don't have to like burn down your whole business and get rid of all your offers and throw the baby out with the bathwater. One of my favorite expressions, or so to speak. You just need to make some small tweaks. So I want you to stay with me, because people get really stuck here. If I haven't been clear enough about that, you'll get really stuck here if you don't change the way you're thinking about your business. So let's talk about why we're stuck and where exactly we're stuck in the client warrior stage. Let's talk about like that strategy and mindset piece here. So what I see happening at this stage, and this stage, by the way, is literally who I created Yay for Clients for. However, I find it's the people who are the hardest to get into Yay for Clients, because they have this idea that like, well, I'm not new to business. I've already been in business for a while. I'm already making some money. So I don't need to like create a new package, or I don't need to refine my services. I already have services. I need help with marketing. That to me is like, it's so hard for me to hear, because it is the opposite of what you need at this stage. So because you're not new to business, you are maybe a little bit jaded. And it's really important that we acknowledge this, because you might be hesitant to admit that things aren't working. And I am literally speaking the words that I was thinking in my head at this stage, because I thought I should be farther along by now. Like, I didn't want to admit that I wasn't as successful as I thought other people thought I should be at that point. And it wasn't because I lied to people about where I was at. It's just that people make assumptions watching your business, it just constantly. So I felt like this weird disconnect of like, I'm struggling more than I feel like I should be. And I had so much shame around it. And so I wasn't willing to admit that I needed help with my service packaging. And I really wasn't clear that is what I needed help with. You might feel like you don't want to quote unquote start over with packages, because maybe you've worked really hard on developing your packages. I can't tell you how many times, this is one of the signs of a client warrior, how many times someone is like about to enroll in Yay for Clients. I'm like, this is what's going to make the difference. Like, we're going to get you clients. We're going to refine those packages. And they're like, but I just relaunched my new service packages, so I just need help with marketing. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. You wouldn't need help with marketing if you launched your service packages the right way. So that's always like, I wish you'd come to me first, right? So what I want to reframe here is that you're not starting over if you're going to refine your packages or rejigger your packages or go, back to the drawing board just to make sure that you've packaged your signature service the right way. It's not starting over. It's the next step. By not taking that step, you're refusing to move forward. Right? Like, that's what's really happening. You think it's moving backwards, but actually it's the step forwards. Of course, you're not taking the step, but of course you're also struggling because you're not taking the step you need to take to get the result that you want. So you guys can see how I get really frustrated seeing this from the outside, because I can see the logic that is keeping people stuck, but until they snap out of that logic and believe something different, it's going to keep perpetuating. There's also often at this stage a real fear or hesitation around niching, or some really big mistakes around niching. I disagree with basically how everybody in the world teaches niching. Not 100%. I just always find that they're missing a few pieces to their teaching that are critical to prevent people from making one of the biggest niching mistakes I talk about, which is superficial niching. Superficial niching is when, and this is kind of what I did, but basically you go, oh, I'm a copywriter, so I'm going to be a copywriter for photographers. Like that's a superficial niche. Why? Because we niche down based on industry. By like, oh, I'm going to do this for health coaches, or I'm going to do this for women who have 2 children. Like it's so specific about this like demographic kind of type and narrowing in. And it's not entirely wrong. And sometimes when people do it, they happen to find a good niche by accident. But oftentimes, most of the time what I see is this superficial niche. What happens is photographers don't necessarily need a copywriter that only focuses on them. Like that's not necessarily a selling point for photographers. So me niching down on only working with photographers isn't necessarily going to help me to attract more clients. Now, if I niche down to be a copywriter who only helps course creators write sales pages for their course launches, now that's something that they're going to actually look for because that's a very specific type of copy and a very specific type of problem that they have that they need solved. Whereas just niching down by like, I'm going to work with moms isn't enough. We need to talk about what is the problem that those moms have, right? And not all moms, right? All moms are different. What is the specific problem that moms have that you're going to solve? And then of course, your target market are people who have that problem, i.e. moms, but it's just saying moms isn't enough. Just saying photographers isn't enough. So we need to make sure that we're not creating superficial niches, but we're identifying real niches that already exist, i.e. real problems people already want to pay you to have solved. That is the core mistake most people are making. We had our Yay for Clients office hours today, and I talked with one of our students who actually she wants to create a mini service for her audience, and her industry was very affected by COVID. So I said, that's a great idea. You definitely need to, adjust given COVID in your industry. The thing is, the service that she was creating was like a really cool idea, but there was no evidence that it was something that her target audience was craving. It wasn't like, oh, people were telling me this is what they want. It's like, oh, I thought this would be a fun idea. We need to make sure that it's something that people want. And so that is really what niching is about solving a problem people want solved. It's not about narrowing in on your target market. That's not what it's about. Okay. It's not about limiting who you could talk to. It's about getting clear about what the problem is that you solve. So here's the thing. Like I said, right now you're stuck as a client warrior. It's okay. We all get stuck. I'm stuck. We're all stuck. But right now you're stuck because it feels like you're going backwards by going back and refining your packages, maybe repackaging your service, your signature service. And by niching, it feels like, oh my God, what about all this work I just did to like create my website or all this or all that? That's all called sunk cost, right? What's happening is you're not doing the thing you need to do to get the result because you're like, but I already invested all this time and energy in this other thing. And there's like this grieving process of like, oh my God, but I did all that work. That is sunk cost fallacy. It's an economic fallacy that happens when we invest time, energy, money in something. And then because we already spent time and money and energy in something, we feel like we have to spend more time, energy, and money on something. So a classic example is, let's say you buy a pair of skis on sale because they're on sale. And then you have the skis and you're like, well, because I already bought the skis, I should really go skiing. The thing is, skiing is going to just cost you more money. Like if you don't want to go skiing, you'll actually save money by just not going skiing. But our brains tell us, well, I already spent, however, I don't know how much skis are. I'm going to be like, I already spent $200 on skis. So I lose that $200 if I don't now go skiing with those skis. The $200 is already gone, right? Like that's a fallacy that you're going to get more out of it because you're going skiing. If you created an offer that, I'm not saying your offer is bad, by the way, but it wasn't totally packaged and positioned in a way that is going to make it a no-brainer, literal craving for people to pay you, you are going to struggle to convince people to buy your services forever. And you think marketing is the thing. I just need better marketing, but that's not what it is. We need to make sure that the service you created is actually what people want. And then guess what? You don't even need the marketing. That's the magic. Wouldn't you rather spend a couple months creating that, getting that solid, putting that out there, and then it working amazingly than trying to make fetch happen, right? That's what I tell people. Trying to make fetch happen, trying to make your current services work when you're not sure that it's what people want. Now, your current service might be what people want, but we don't know it for sure. And that's the problem. That's the root problem. Okay. So you feel like it's going backwards to refine your packaging and positioning. I'm telling you, it is the step forward. Okay. So you think right now that you need marketing, list building, social media. Okay. I'm not saying marketing, list building, and social media, which are all just different words for similar things. I'm not saying those are bad things or that they don't help your business at all. What I'm saying is that this point in time, that is not what's going to solve your problem. Marketing amplifies what's already going on, and it takes either time or money. So either you need to spend all your time marketing to figure out if your services are going to work or not, or you can figure out sooner by going through the niching process and making sure that you're validating that this is a problem people want solved. And okay, people already want it. Then I'm creating it, not creating it and then shoving it down people's throats. Or as Seth Godin says, having a key and trying to find a lock for it to go in. I'd rather find a lock and then get a key made for the lock. Way easier. Marketing is just going to amplify what's already going on. So if your service already isn't what people want, what your target market wants, the packaging, meaning like the actual service, and the positioning, meaning the way that you present it, the way you talk about it, your messaging, all of that. If that's not resonating, all that marketing is just going to show you that's not resonating. It's not going to get you clients. It's just going to be like, oh, more nothing, more not clients, right? So marketing is not the answer. We're not going to fill like a leaky tank with gas and be like, oh, it's just, now we know it's leaky. Like we know it's leaky. Let's patch it up first and then fill it with gas. The marketing is the gasoline. So the real solution is exactly what I've been saying all along. There's two things, two P's that I want you to focus on. Packaging first and positioning. Okay. Those are the most important things that you need to do with your signature service. And here's a little quick, this is something I go in depth in Yay for Clients. This is like the whole point of Yay for Clients, but let me give you a quick little test for you right now. If you're kind of like, oh, I don't know, like, is my service good enough? Or like, by the way, if you have multiple services, we already know that it's not passing. But if you have one signature service, you're like, I don't know, like, do people want it? Is it pass the test? Whatever, is we need to put it through the one specific problem test. So I want you to think of your signature service, and I want to know right now, I want you to write down, and I want you to like DM me with this or just take a picture of it or just write it down for yourself. What is the one specific problem that your service solves? And if you're like, well, it solves a few different problems. It helps people with their sleep and this and their stress and their energy levels. It's like, nope, not good enough, right? So if your innate impulse was, but it's a few things, then it already isn't passing the test. I am not saying that your service isn't amazing. I am not saying we need to put you all the way back to the drawing board. What I'm saying is we need to repackage and reposition your service so that it is passing the one specific problem test. This is what's going to get you more clients. One reason this is so important is because service providers actually get 90% of their clients from referrals. Not social media and marketing. That's not where most people's clients come from. Now, I'm not saying you won't get clients from those channels. I'm just saying that is a much more time-consuming, energy-consuming long-term game to be playing. Most of your clients are going to come from referrals from your most intimate network. So it's really healthy for you right now to make a list of who's in your network. And I mean all past clients, people who you've networked with in a business sense, people who have maybe you've hired as contractors or things like that. So who is in your network? Who do you already know who would need your service? Those are the people who are the most likely to hire you, not some random person who found you on Instagram. Okay. Unless you've already established a really great audience and messaging on Instagram, that's not where it's going to come from. So marketing is not going to solve the problem because that's going to take a really long time. And we want to know now if our services are desirable, not in 3 or 6 months. So what do we do next? We've gotten to that point. What do we do now? Now, like I talked about in the Scrappy Freelancer episode, it's always going to be a mindset and a strategy question. Anytime you have a goal, there's always going to be, what is the mindset? Meaning, what are the thoughts I have to think? What are the beliefs I have to hold? And then what is the strategy? Meaning, what are the actions I need to take? What are the things I need to do? A lot of people only focus on the actions and they don't focus on the thoughts and the beliefs. The thing is, your thoughts and your beliefs drive your actions. So you're never going to take the actions, even if they're the right ones, i.e., great example. If you currently have 3 beautiful service packages that you just launched 2 months ago, and you hear me saying this and you're like, Courtney, I just launched those services. I already did that. I need to make sure these services work first. And if they don't work, then I'll come back to you. That is a belief that's going to keep you stuck, right? You're not believing that you could actually refine them now. You believe that you need to continue to sink costs into the services you've already launched. That's a belief. Right now, you might still believe that, even though I just try to tell you otherwise, and that's okay. We're human beings. We're all allowed to believe different things. But what I'm telling you is you're never going to take the actions that I'm going to ask you to take if you don't believe that you need to refine your packages or reposition your packages. So that's just an example of where the mindset will stop you from taking the actions. So here's a couple of mindset issues that you're going to need to address if you want to get out of the client warrior stage and move into the booked out boss stage, right? Number 1 is the belief or the fear, really. It's really fear when it comes to things that are holding us back, right? The fear that there are not enough ideal clients out there for you, or you're just not going to be able to find them. And so you need to say yes to non-ideal clients because you need the money. I see that one all the time. So the not enough clients thing. There's not enough of my ideal clients out there. There's also just some general fear around changing the way that you've been doing things, or like I said, the sunk cost fallacy. So those are some more fears that come up. Oh, but then I will have wasted my time. No, you created all those things. You learned skills. You went through that process of packaging those services. Now you're learning a lesson. Instead of avoiding learning the lesson and learning it later, let's learn it now and move forward, right? So that's the mental game part. The strategy piece here, what's going to get you booked out with your services, making that full-time income? Let me tell you. You need to refine your niche. You need to get very, very clear on what is that one specific problem that your service solves and what is the result that it creates. Then you need to package that one signature service. You need to test that service to validate it. You need to launch that service in a way, not course launch style. That's not what works. We need to put that service out there. I'm even going to hesitate to use the word launch. Put that service out there in a way that is going to make sure that we're getting clients instantly once we launch it, right? So it's not by blasting your email list. We can do that, but that's not necessarily the strategy. We need to systematize it so that you are not reinventing the wheel with each client, that you're creating a predictable process, a consistency with your services so that you can show up with your creative energy, your genius, whatever it is, and you can do the work that you're great at and not be hemorrhaging energy on remembering to email a client their contract, or being oh, what does this client have? And oh, did I sell them this or that? Or, oh my God, where am I at in that project? There's so much energy that's being lost in doing that. And then we also need to make sure that you are continuously magnetizing clients to you. By the way, all the things I just outlined are literally the steps that I teach inside of Yay for Clients. So you can always join Yay for Clients and go through that process in the program with my support. The other piece of strategy I want to give you is it's all about relationships when it comes to clients. It's not about social media marketing. I'm not saying stop your social media marketing. What I am saying is rev up the more intimate relationship-based marketing, reaching out to people who you already know, like, and trust, who already have established rapport with you. Someone who's met you in person is so much more likely to hire you than someone who hopped on your Instagram page for no other reason than they met you in person. Not even if they have more information about you. Literally no other reason than they met you in person. I kid you not. So important to really go to where's the lowest hanging fruit for me? Where can I build that momentum? And then really, ultimately, what it comes down to is strategy here, guys, for those of you who are client warriors who are still here with me, is having that one signature service that solves one problem for one specific target client. Okay? So you guys already know the drill by now. I would love to work with you inside of Yay for Clients. And that would really be, if you want to work with me, if you want to continue working with me, I'd love to have you. That would be the next step here. So we've actually got a special link for you client warriors out there. It's at yayforclients.com/warrior. And what you'll get at that link is you'll get an opportunity to sign up for my free masterclass, the Get More Clients Method, where you'll get way more info on the actual step-by-step process, right? Today, we've really just talked about where you're at right now and what the issues are there and what's holding you back and like what you need to do next. That masterclass will actually go through that method in more detail. And you'll also get all the details for Yay for Clients, an opportunity to enroll. And we'll talk about how Yay for Clients could work for your business. So if that sounds good to you, go over to yayforclients.com/warrior. The link will be in the show notes below. And I appreciate so much having you sitting with me for this, 30 some odd minutes today and hearing about the Client Warrior stage. I hope that you feel seen at this point, that if you've been feeling that shame of like, I should be farther along by now. I wish I should have more clients. I've been at this too long. When is it going to click? When is it my time? I hear you. I was there. I resonate with that frustration more than probably any other business frustration that there is. And so if anything you take away today, I hope that you know that you're not alone and that there is a solution and it doesn't have to be so hard forever. Thank you so much for listening. And in the next episode, we'll talk about the stage of being a booked out boss. So if that's the next stage for you, you might want to listen to that episode so that you can hear what happens next, right? Okay, I will chat with you guys in the next episode. Yay! Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you love today's content and are ready to finally start making a full-time income from your business this year, make sure to get on the wait list for my program, Yay for Clients, over at yayforclients.com, and you'll be notified the next time enrollment is open. Or if you're already booked with clients and you want to learn how you can turn your signature service into a signature program and add 100K of revenue to your bottom line, come apply to my group coaching program, Yay for 100K, over at CourtneyShaw.com/apply. Thanks again and have an awesome day.